Hey everyone, Nick here. So last week I shared this tutorial on how to make double level 3D effect like this. A lot of you like the tutorial and some of you requested a tutorial on letters with curves. So that is what I'm going to show you today. We are going to create a 3D effect of this script letter L. As you can see, this letter has so many curves and creating 3D effect on curves can be a bit challenging. That's why that is what we are going to learn today. So remember this. And yeah, I'm going to be using the brushes from different packs that I've made before. If you don't have these packs, is okay. You can still create this project and also share a worksheet, which I'll put into the description below so that you don't have to redraw the letter that I'll be making so that you could just focus on the 3D effect. So it's going to be down in the description below as well as the links to the brushes or the brush packs that I'll be using for this tutorial. Let's begin. So I just created a new canvas and first thing we do is let's draw our letter L. So I'm using a stroke outliner. You can find it under my graffiti lettering, but if you have other stroke liner brushes, feel free to do that or to use that. And if you don't have any outliner brush, what you can do is you could just use a normal marker, and then on a new layer, so reduce the opacity first, and on a new layer, use another marker, and then just outline the edges manually. This is what we did on the last tutorial. If you've seen that tutorial, I drew the outlines manually. So basically just follow the same process as last week's tutorial if you don't have an outliner brush. So if you have the stroke outliner of my graffiti pack, it's a bit shaky. So if you have a cleaner outliner brush, go ahead and use that. If you don't have one, you can duplicate the brush. And let's tweak this a little bit to make it cleaner. So just go to Brush Studio by tapping on the brush. And all you have to do is adjust the jitter from 15% to 0. After that, select this second thinner line right here. Select that and move jitter to 0 as well. That way we have a more cleaner curve. Anyway, when you've selected your brush or fixed your current brush, just draw the letter L like that. If you're not happy with it, feel free to just keep on repeating until you get a nice letter L that you want. I think this looks perfect. And you make another one. Yeah, I think this is the one. Now that we have our letter ready, let's hide that and create our 3D guides. So I'm using my 3D letter builder pack. And for this one, let's just keep it simple. Let's just use the rectangular 3D block double level. And then just stamp it in the middle like that. Okay. Okay, let's just put it here at the side. Okay. Or move it somewhere like this. And move this a bit here, just so that they're not touching each other. Last time, we aligned our letter on this box because the letter we use is the letter N and it has like a lot of sharp corners. But for the letter L, everything's rounded, right? But don't worry, to use this guide, all you have to do is, let me just bring the opacity down a bit. Okay. And on this layer, let's just use any simple brush and then just dot the corner like that. There. Because what we're going to do is we need to duplicate this 3 times because we need one layer for the top layer, another layer for the inner 3D effect, and a third layer for the depth of the 3D effect. So we're going to duplicate this twice. So you have 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So for the first one, the position is correct. For the second one, select the layer, hit transform, and then this is selection, hit transform, and then make sure magnetics and snapping are both turned on, and then just move the dot to the corner there. Then select the third layer. Let's do the same thing. Transform and move it here, like that. You now have the guides for the 3 levels that we'll be needing to create this nice 3D lettering script. Okay, once we're done with that, let us hide all the layers again, except for the first one. Okay, so this is the top layer. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create the 3D depth or the outside 3D effect. So we're going to bring out the first layer and the third layer like that. Okay, but for the third layer, let's lighten the opacity. Okay. The next step we're going to do is we're going to draw the diagonal connecting lines for the 3D effect. But since this is a curved shape or curved letter, it's a bit more challenging compared to the letter N, wherein it's all sharp corners, right? We just have to add the 3D effect to all of the sharp corners. But since this is a curved letter, or it is full of curves, it's a bit more tricky. And I'm going to show you how can you find the points where you're going to need to put or draw the 3D line. So on a new layer, we're going to switch our color to maybe red, could be any color. And then let's just draw a 45-degree line like this. So make sure you use your finger to snap it at 45 degrees like that. Okay. And then let's move it. So we're going to move this horizontally. So every time it touches the edge of a letter, like here, ting, here, it touches here, right? So we need to draw a line there, or draw like a connecting 3D line there. And if we move it here, if we hit like a corner, we're going to add a 3D line here. Okay. Next is here. It's going to hit this corner right here. So we're going to add a 3D connecting line there. And here, we're going to add a 3D connecting line here. And that's for the bottom part. For the top part, let's move it from left to right now. Here, it touches here. So we're going to draw a line here at this point where the red line and our first layer, our first letter intersects. So here earlier and here, it touched here, right? So we're going to draw one line there. And here as well, the edge here. So we're going to draw another line there. So yeah, that's how you determine where to draw the line or draw the connecting line. So you can do this manually, just draw the lines like that. Or if you have my pack, what you can do is create a new layer, switch to, okay, let's just use red still so that it's easier to spot the red line. And then in our 3D letter builder pack, on top, we have the 45-degree line. So what this does is, if you tap, it's just going to draw the line that we need. But we need to make sure the size is correct. It needs to have that size. So when we tap at the corner, it's going to give that line. Oh, I think since I have already practiced this tutorial before showing to you, I've already set it at the right size. But this is what you need. You need it to be the same length of this guide or the guide that you used. To that, just adjust the size to get the correct size. But since I already have it, it's going to be super easy and super simple. So let me just hide all of the unnecessary layers, just these layers. So yeah, if you remember, if we move the diagonal, it's going to touch here. So I'm going to tap right there. That's what we need. And in the corner as well, there. And here. Oops. Make sure you don't rotate. Make sure it's always flat like that. Yeah, there, just one tap. This one, tap it there. Here, we mentioned here, right? Tap it here. Yeah, here. If you don't tap it exactly at the right point, it's okay. You can always undo and tap here. Let me bring this in a bit more. Yeah, like that. Perfect. And one here. Yeah, I think I got it. Perfect. So it's not as, it's more difficult to add the 3D line compared to a boxy letter like this letter N right here. But you just have to look at your letters more closely so that you'll be able to put it at the right positions. When we are done, let's bring the opacity back up. Okay. Since I always preserve my layers, I suggest you do the same thing so that if there's something wrong with your process, you could always go back and use the necessary layers that has been untouched. So let's just duplicate the first layer, the last layer, and the connecting line layer, which is a red layer. Yeah. And then hide everything. Okay. So for the first layer, we need this to be blank, right? Because right now it has so many messy lines. So what we have to do is let's merge the red line layers and the third layer, pinch those two layers to merge. And then after that, we're going to select the first layer, use selection on automatic. Let's select the inside of our letter. And then let's go to layers, switch to the third layer or the second layer now. Use eraser, a big eraser, and then just erase the inside there. And after that, we can merge these layers and then change the color to black through brightness or hue saturation brightness and slide the brightness tab to 0 or brightness slider to 0 there. And then choose black and then fill in these spaces. Continue filling. Oops. I selected continue filling. Yeah, there. Just adjust the threshold so that you don't cover the entire canvas, because sometimes Procreate does that. And just tap all the other parts that needs to be filled. Let's just manually brush that in. And there. We now have the outside 3D effect. Let's just erase these. Oops. Choose a smaller eraser. Erase these dots right there. Perfect. Now that we have the outside, let's create the inside 3D effect. The process is similar to what we did last week on the previous video. So let's do that again. The first, second, and third layer, we have to go back to these layers. So earlier we used the first and third layer for the outside 3D effect. But for now, for the inside 3D, we're going to use the first and second layer. Okay, let's bring it all back out again. So if you want the depth of the inside 3D to be shallower, what you can do is you can move this up a little bit like that. Make sure you still stick to the same 3D angle like that. But if you don't want to move it, you can just follow the preset position from the 3D guide that we used earlier. Okay. But I'm just showing you there's an option to adjust it so that the depth is not too deep in case that's the outcome that you want. Anyway, we have the first and second layer there. Let's just work on these one at a time. So we're going to use selection and select the area that's inside, which is what we want to fill later on. Go to a new layer, add a new layer, and then choose a different color, maybe yellow, and then just color drop like that. Okay, basically we're just getting the area inside. That's what we're doing. We're going to do that for we're going to do the same thing for the second layer or second level. So selection, not transform. Selection, select the inside, create a new layer, choose a different color and color fill. There. We hide those two layers and show the new layers that we've done. So basically this is it. These are the two layers that we need to create in order to make the inside 3D effect. Once we're done with that, let's bring back the latest 3D that we have so far. Then let's move the yellow layer on top and then move the orange layer on top of everything like that. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we are going to basically we want to erase the excess. If you turn on clipping mask, this is what we want to create. Okay. So to do this, what we do is, let me just remove clipping mask first. We select the orange layer, okay? And using two fingers, press on or hold on the orange layer. So it's gonna select the area and then select invert eraser. Let's use a big eraser to erase the excess there, like that. And then what we're going to do next is you want to connect the edges there, right? So what we're going to do is just use selection, freehand, and tap this corner, and use an eraser to erase there, like that. So we're going to do that for all of the corners. So we also have this corner, but this corner is already connected, right? Unlike this one, this is not connected. Like the black and the yellow layers or the black and yellow corners are not connected. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to connect that using selection. Like select this, erase. So if you've watched the previous tutorial, you'll know the reason why we're doing this. So feel free to watch that if you want to get the explanation on why we are doing this step. Erase that. There, I think we got everything. Okay. So once this is done, we can now start to color and complete our layers. So let's add a new layer here and color our background. So I think let's go for this blue color. Let's make it a bit darker, less vibrant there. And then for the 3D effect, let me just color drop this blue right there and just use hue saturation to adjust it a bit. So you can choose any color, but I'm using this nice blue shade right here. Like that. Okay. And then for the yellow, let's hide the orange first. So it's not too distracting. Something like flesh color. Like that. Or make it a bit darker and more vibrant. There. And for the orange, let's color pick the same color. Color drop that. And use hue and saturation to adjust it a bit so that you have some color differentiation like that. Yeah, let's adjust this hue saturation. Let's make it a bit darker and more saturated. Okay, and then let's duplicate the first layer and move it all the way up. Like that. And change it to white. Like that. Let's duplicate this a bit and merge them. Okay. So you should have something like this by now. And don't forget to erase this guide so that use a smaller eraser. This is guide. And then select everything and move them to the center because I just like to center things. Perfect. Like that. Let me just take a peek. Oh, I think I need to adjust the colors a bit if I want to do something like this exactly, but I think I'm fine with what I've created so far. Here. Okay. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some textures here or some patterns. I actually like the pattern that is included in Procreate's pre-included brushes. So under vintage, yeah, this Galaxias, it has like a very beautiful texture. So we're just going to add that. So we're going to create a new layer above the flesh layer like this, and then just color it in. You don't have to color the entire page, just enough to color the letter. And then turn on clipping mask. There, you now have the pattern. There. Then you can use hue and saturation to adjust the colors to your liking. So maybe just lighten this and darken the background like that. There. I don't think you can see clearly on the camera, but it's there. The textures are there. Anyway, next thing we have to do is we're going to add some shadows or the shade to our 3D effect. So right now, let's focus on the blue part of our letter. So all of the faces, all of the edges that are facing the side, we're just going to keep the colors. And every part that's facing downward, we're going to color it darker. So above this blue layer, we're going to add a new layer, switch to black, and just use any monoweight brush. Yeah. Okay. Since the 3D guide that we use from the 3D pack is fixed at 45 degrees, it's going to make the entire process easier because we could just easily snap every line that we make. It's super useful, especially here with curves, because if it's a sharp corner like this, which is easier because you just have to make sure you connect the corners there and there like that. Okay. But with curves, it's kind of hard to do that. That's why fixing your 3D effect at 45 degrees is a super helpful way to do this. Okay. Let's start here, this segment. So this side right here, they are facing to the side. So it's going to remain the same size, but for the parts that are facing down, so just draw a 45-degree line like that. And then just maybe cut it up to here, right? And for this one, like a 45-degree line. Right there. Okay. Then let's connect top and connect the bottom. Oops. Color fill and make sure you adjust the threshold so that it doesn't cover the entire thing, right? Like that. So this is what we made right here, but we're going to clipping mask it to our letter or 3D effect to make it look like this. Okay, same thing here. So some of these sides are showing to the side. So let's draw another 45-degree line. Then just move it to maybe here. If you remember or if you notice, I'm drawing like a very long line so I could easily connect the ends to just easily color fill things. So we're okay with that. So let's just select this entire layer, color drop there. Okay. So for this one, this curve right here, the top, this part is facing downwards. So we're going to draw another 45-degree line, maybe about here. Connect the edges of the line. Oops. Like this. So make sure you drew this, you connect them. So I'm showing this to you just so that you'll understand what I'm doing here. But if you've watched my previous video, I'm sure you already know what I mean. Why do this? Okay. So for this one, this part is facing down, this part is facing the side. So we're just gonna connect, oops. We're just gonna connect these two corners like that. And here, so this is facing the side maybe until this section right here. Make sure you just connect. Yeah. And do the color drop. So this entire thing is facing down. So I just drew like a circle, which you can't see because it's at the layer below and it's clipping mask. So yeah, there. And then for here, like that, there. So I think everything else is okay. So for this one, if you want to leave it like this, wherein the 3D effect is like solid line right there, you can leave it as is. If you want to blend them, you can use your smudge tool and then just blend it nicely. Not on all parts, just on the curved parts. Unlike this one, this has like a sharp corner, right? We're not going to blend that. But since this is with a curve, so we are going to blend that right here. Try to blend that as smoothly as you can. This one as well. There. That. Blend, blend, blend. This one as well. Blend, blend, blend. Yeah. Not all blended. And then you can just adjust this. You can adjust the blending mode, multiply, and just adjust the opacity to the perfect color or like perfect shadow color for it. Yeah, there. We're going to do that to the inside as well. So this layer. Okay. The layer right above it, that's where we're going to add the shadows to the inside 3D effect. So we're going to create a new layer on top of it. And using the same fine liner, we're just going to repeat the same process, but on the inside, on this color right here. Okay, let's start here. So for this section right here, the strip, so some of these are going to be facing to the left. So we're going to draw maybe a 45-degree line right here. Draw a circle to like draw a curve just connecting the 2 points and covering the entire thing. So when we color drop like this, it's going to color what we want to color. And then make sure you turn on clipping mask. Okay. You could already like blend it at this stage if you don't want to come back to this later on. Yeah. For this one here, this whole part right here is facing down, right? So with a 45-degree line here as well. Make sure the two lines are connected here and here like that. And then cover that part. And when you color fill, you're going to get a nice color, a nice shade to it. And then just use the blender to blend it like that. And then let's look for other downward facing sections like this. Here. So this part right here. And this part right here as well. There. And then blend this. For this one, right here. Color and then blend this. So here as well. Here, this section is facing downwards, so let's connect these two corners right here, there, and then I think this is going to be the last one. So this part is facing down, but this section is facing to the side. So we're going to cut it maybe around here. Close this, and then use the smudge tool to blend. There. And then, same thing, we could change the blending mode. Ooh, I think overlay looks nice. It turns it into like this reddish color. Yeah, let's just use overlay and adjust the opacity down a bit. Okay, I kind of want to adjust the colors a bit. So I'll just recolor the pattern. Make sure alpha lock is on, and color fill that. Yeah, I think this color looks better. Like that for the inside. And then for the pattern, this way is lighter. So I change it from this color to this color. Okay, but I want to fix that, make that darker. So it's this layer right here. Make sure you select the right layer. Yeah. So if you select a layer, and when you change the hue and saturation, or when you adjust the hue and saturation and not a thing is changing, it just means that you've selected the wrong layer. And make sure you go to the right layer and select that before adjusting. Yeah, I think this looks good. Yeah, this one. For this one, let me just switch back to multiply instead of opacity. I think multiply looks better on this. There. So this is how you create a 3D effect for curved letters. It's basically, the process is similar to if you're working on like a blocky or rectangular letter. The difference is in where you're going to position the right points to connect the 3D lines. Oh, before we finish this, let's just add some textures, because that's always a good idea to add textures to finish everything off, or to finish your artwork. So so I added a new layer on top of the background layer, and let's pick a light blue color and a texture. I think soft greeny texture for the background. Yeah, it looks nice. Let me try a different one. Feel free to choose whatever texture you want to use. How about this marbled wall texture? Ooh, this looks nice. Yeah, I think I like this. Oh, let me just brush it with a light blue and a dark blue at a different angle. Go back. There. Nice. That looks nice. Then let's add a new texture layer on top as well. I mean, on the topmost layer. Maybe age manuscript texture. Ooh. This looks nice, but let's change the hue saturation, make it white. There. I actually like it. But let me just bring the opacity down so that it's not too strong. There, here we have it. Oh, I also like to add like a drop shadow. So let's duplicate this layer. The layer above the 3D effect, duplicate that for the bottom layer. Let's first bring it up to the topmost layer. Okay, let's change it to black for shadow and Gaussian blur. And just blur it to maybe, it actually depends on the size of your canvas for the percentage. Since I'm using screen size, so it's going to be about 15%. And let's bring the layer down just below the 3D effect or the color blue layer, and then just move it 45 degrees diagonally like this. And then maybe you can bring the opacity down a bit like that. Then you can select everything and then center, oops. And then we center it. There. Perfect. So here we have script 3D effect, a double level script 3D effect. If you have any questions about this process, feel free to comment them below and I'll get to them. And if you have any other requests for lettering tutorial, just also put it down in the comment section because I want to keep making these tutorial videos for you. And I need ideas, guys. I need some ideas. So I have that worksheet so that you could recreate this even if you don't have my brushes. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this tutorial. And if you created any projects following this tutorial, it could be the same letter or a different letter. Feel free to tag me because I love to see your work. And I like to see how you color 3D lettering as well. If you enjoyed this tutorial and you want to create more different styles of 3D lettering, go and grab my 3D lettering pack. A 3D letter builder pack includes a lot of helpful 3D tools like these 3D guides and these 3D blocks in different orientation, different direction, angle to give you a variety of 3D projects that you can create with this pack. It also has other 3D styles such as floating, folded, flat letters, layered 3D effect, cast shadows, levitating 3D, corner peels, and 3D spatial grid. Also, perspective 3D. So grab that pack from my website, nicong.co. So yeah, that's it for today's tutorial. I'll see you in the next one.